I'm Rick Kaler. Thanks for joining me. Last week, I reported on a survey that found most investment advisors are expecting the presidential election to result in rough seas for both their businesses and their clients' long-term retirement portfolios. As it turns out, it looks like I'm in the minority of advisors that totally disagree with that belief. The reason is even though the U.S. president is often called the most powerful person in the world, our presidents don't run the economy any more than they run Congress or they run the Supreme Court. While they may have some influence over all three, that influence only goes so far. Now, certainly the president, as head of the executive branch, has authority over enforcing or not enforcing the laws passed by Congress. And we witnessed this most notably with President Bush, who didn't enforce some environmental laws, and then President Obama, who's vigorously enforced all of them. This gives the president a lot of influence on enforcing regulations, and that impacts businesses and consumers. Enforcing or not enforcing regulations dealing with commerce and Wall Street can have some influence on the economy. But still, the executive branch powers include foreign affairs, ordering military actions, and making appointments to the courts. There's nothing there that they're in charge of the economy. Congress enacts all laws and controls the spending. The Supreme Court decides if both the executive branch and the Congress comply with the Constitution. Presidents can certainly influence Congress, but they remain one cog of many cogs in the wheel of government. So while the president has an influence on the economy, it isn't the major influence that the media or either political party make it out to be. People think a president has great power to fix an economy. Even presidential candidates believe their own rhetoric around what they can accomplish until they take up residence in the Oval Office and discover there are a plethora of constraints that mute their power. This is how the Founding Fathers designed our government, which is actually a good thing, especially in this election cycle. That's why, viewed in the context of your long-term retirement portfolio, you need not worry about who becomes president. Could there be some short-term swings in the stock market? Certainly. Who is elected president? Will it make a difference in the long run? Not at all. Of slightly more concern, though, and potentially more economically impactful, is if one party gains control of the executive branch and Congress. The last time we saw that was in 2008 to 2010, when the Democrats controlled both houses of Congress and the presidency. One of the biggest outcomes of that 2-year run was the passing of the Affordable Health Care Act, which certainly had a large economic impact. Whether that impact was positive or negative depended on your economic status. For many of the uninsured working poor, it was a godsend. For anyone not qualifying for the subsidy on the exchanges, it was a massive increase in health premiums. That said, I won't be doing anything differently with my investments, even if we have a Democratic or Republican sweep of the Congress and presidency. If you have a globally diversified portfolio in many different asset classes, you have no need to worry. You don't need to make any adjustments. Now, while I am neutral as to the impact of the presidential election on my investment portfolio, that certainly doesn't mean I don't care about the election or I don't care about the person who represents our country in its highest office. I am going to vote because elections do matter. The choices we make as voters, not only for president, but for Congress and state and local officials, do have an impact on the direction of our country. Thanks for joining me.